Yes. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. What's up, girls? Well, I'm a little concerned about the room here at 101 ESPN. And it's Jackson and Matt Rocchio and the tension between them. And I'm concerned about it. Maybe it's because the NBA season is over and they're both upset about that. I'm not sure. But it was not a good exchange as we entered the 101 ESPN studios a few moments ago, Jackson. I'm concerned.
Listen, Matt Rocchio and I have a long history working together, both in the capacity of on the same show, on different shows, but same station. I have a lot of love for Matt Rocchio. He's just always got something to say. He's always got a little chirp. He's got to give it a little jab on his way in and on his way out. He's always got a little something to say. And you know what? I'm going to stand up for all the public school kids out there.
Oh, my gosh. You are a man of the people as a Ladue guy.
Yeah, and we're not going to be taken advantage of. We're not going to be treated like lesser people by those who went to private school.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And for the record, his was CBC.
Right, fire up, CB.
So you and Rocchio were sideways over some kind of exchange as we walked in here, and then you removed his little mic foam thing. Get that out of here. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah.
So now you're at war with members of the Fast Lane. You're at war with at least one member of the opening drive. I hope you're not sideways with anybody on BK and Ferrario, because then you won't have a friend in the building.
Nope. No, all good. Certainly on the afternoon phase, any beef I had with the Fast Lane was squashed. They paid me a little bit of praise on their program last week. I wasn't allowed on the air. Let's make one thing clear. That wrong has not been righted. But they paid me a little compliment. So
what was the compliment?
It was what's trending maybe in their show, and someone asked, do you think Piddles is the most knowledgeable about basketball in the station? And they kind of were like, yeah, all right, I guess. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
well, that's a compliment.
They're kind of just like, we can say that. And so, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It was nice.
Things are turning around
Yeah, that was nice. That was very nice of them.
We have a series of questions today. We welcome you to participate in them. The YouTube chat, 101 ESPN YouTube chat. Jackson, for whatever reason, it is not up on the monitor, even though I see the Balloon Party logo on the monitor. And I see Daniel Harris is in there, says Tim's looking pretty sharp today. Tiny PP says, let's do this. Who needs it? And I mean bad this morning. Callus coitus. It sounds like the people want it.
You do look good.
Do you like this look? Rocchio was complimentary on that, and then I felt like you took a shot at his shorts or something.
I said I liked his shorts, but then he came back right over the top, and I was like, all right, compliment rescinded.
Wow.
I do really like the no tie but jacket and shirt look.
You don't see a lot of ties in 2024.
They're kind of falling out of practice.
You think we'll see the tie make a Sunday charge?
I don't know. I don't think it's necessary anymore. It seems just kind of like an antiquated fashion accessory. I still think it can look really good. Don't get me wrong. But I think this style of kind of that open button at the top, it looks really good. And it still looks very formal. Like you don't look like, kind of someone who's ended their day. You look like someone starting their day.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to start my day with a scotch.
That's right.
That's what I do. I walk in here, we pour a scotch, and I talk sports with the people.
Yep, and we
That's what I do.
2 cigars.
That's correct.
On the air.
Just a couple of guys talking it over in the men's card room. That's what this program is.
BK and Ferrario come in flapping the air
That's
around.
Exactly right. Jackson, what do you have prepared today for the wonderful Balloon Party audience?
Today, we have It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
A tribute to Danny DeVito.
Yeah, this show should be devoted to Danny DeVito at all times.
Ah, not bad.
You know he produced Pulp Fiction?
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
He has a really cool secondary life as a really great movie producer.
How about you?
Yeah.
How about you? That's always knowledge with you.
I try to be.
All right, Jackson, what's our first question? For the record, Jackson told me to be cool, because I said a little worried about today's It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That's right.
I want to give the audience my reasoning. Maybe I will be proven wrong. We're going to overreact to the Cardinals beating the Marlins, and then there's going to be a lot of Celtics and Mavericks. And the people are going to come after you for talking association. You're going to get flustered. You're going to start yelling at the text or the YouTube comments, and then we're going to be off the rails. And then It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It implodes, even though it probably would have been a wonderful series of 6 questions.
Well, yeah. I mean, Sopranos wouldn't have been as good if David Chase just came on and told you the whole plot beforehand. Wow. No, I'm going to lead with what I want to lead with, damn it.
Oh, you wouldn't dare.
You better believe it. This is a celebration today, St. Louis. Celebration of one of our own. And if you don't like it, that's that.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a celebration. It's a celebratory day as one of St. Louis's finest citizens, a person who reps them at all times, doing great in the community, flourished yesterday, was at the front of people's mind. And I'm, of course, talking about Tim McKernan. This guy...
It is well overdue.
That's right.
I mean, the 20th anniversary of TMA is still a month and 8 days away. Is that right? Is what you were saying?
That's right.
And there's going to be a parade down Tam Avenue.
That's right. Cars and people lined up as far as the eye can see, right by Francis P.
That's exactly right. But we're gonna start the celebration, the 38-day celebration, today here on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jackson Bennett Burkett has his first question. What do we have?
Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics are NBA champs, and I think we should take a moment and acknowledge a local talent who is so proud of where he comes from, who's so involved with the community, and who sets an incredible example for young athletes both on and off the court. Do you feel like St. Louis, by extension, is feeling the excitement of an NBA championship behind JT? Furthermore, in a broader scale, do you think playoff runs like the Celtics are hurtful to any sports league, no matter what?
When a team, two different questions.
That's right.
One.
That's
two totally different questions.
Hurtful to leagues when a team just cruises through the playoffs in dominating fashion.
Wow. Now, this is interesting because that could have been 2 separate questions. Would have been justified. And then it makes me feel good about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because if that's just one of the 6, then perhaps 2 through 6 is going to be beautiful. I don't think there is as much positivity toward Jayson Tatum as far as per capita. I think people pull for him here, but I don't think a large number, like large, I'm talking about like, what would you consider to be large? Let me make sure we're on the same page here.
Would you say
St. Louis sports fans?
St. Louis sports fans, I would say a large percentage would be 25 to 30%.
No, that's interesting because I was going to say 67%. So we obviously have a different definition. That's good. I'm glad I asked. If it's 25%, then I would say, then yes, a large number do. If we're going by my definition, I would say no.
I only say that because we don't have a team here. We don't have, this sport isn't professionally dominating, although youth and involvement in basketball here is massive.
So, I don't know how anybody couldn't like Jayson Tatum. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
And his talent has been on the map in St. Louis, dating back to, I can recall interviewing him when Jim Edmonds and I did our show, which we only did for a year. We did a show one day from Chaminade and had him on the show. And
2014.
So it was 2014.
Sophomore year.
So he has been in the spotlight in St. Louis for more than a decade.
Yeah.
And, got his title last night.
Yeah.
With regard, and so I'm thrilled for him, because that in the NBA, I mean in any sport, but I think maybe more so in the NBA.
No doubt.
It legitimizes a career once you get one.
Yep.
And if you go a career without one,
it's the talk of Charles Barkley every night on Inside the NBA. Anytime he has an opinion that Shaq disagrees with, he says, I have 4 rings and you have none.
Right. So it's always the ultimate trump card. I don't know if that's necessarily the same way in baseball. I think baseball might be
too tough, because look at Mike Trout, a guy who's so clearly it's such a different game, because you could hit 600 and the rest of your team stink and you got no chance of being successful. If you're the best basketball player, you can bring up other 4 players in the court.
Maybe that's a cap thing, but who knows? I don't know. And obviously the percentage of players involved versus baseball. So with that all established, I don't think it's a good thing when a team that isn't considered to be, for example, whether it be Jordan's Bulls or Kobe's Lakers or the Warriors. Yeah. So to go over the last 35 years of dynasties, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, what they won in 12 and 13?
Yeah, and then 16. He went to 8 straight NBA finals.
Yeah.
So.
But I'm talking about team. I don't know if I don't know if, let me put it this way. Maybe the Celtics will go on some semblance of a run. Tatum's still a young man. But when it's, this wasn't, in other words, let me put it this way. If this were Jordan breezing through the playoffs with the Bulls, or Kobe breezing through the playoffs with the Lake Show, or Steph Curry breezing through the playoffs with the Warriors, or a LeBron team, I guess, breezing through the playoffs, I think it carries more weight, because then it can add to, look at the dominance, look at the legacy.
Right.
Now, as we experienced with another Boston team, and we experienced it firsthand here in St. Louis, you don't know you're in the midst of a dynasty until they have a few championships. So inevitably, there has to be the first one. Mm-hmm. But it did seem like that there was some, and Last Dance certainly touched on this, that there was almost like a chronological order in the 80s into the 90s of, it was the Lakers and Celtics time for the first X number of years in the 80s. Then it became the Pistons time, and then the Bulls took over, and it became their time. And then that lasted, and they didn't have an overlap with the Kobe Lakers, but it was close to the Kobe Lakers in those three
two
straight
Rockets championships when Jordan's playing baseball.
Right, yes, but that's kind of the asterisk on those championships. So with that all said, maybe we're witnessing the start of something. Do you think this is the start of something for the Celtics?
Problem is, they just paid last year Jaylen Brown the richest contract in NBA history based on the new CBA. You got to make a certain percentage of payroll. Tatum's going to absolutely get the same thing because he's played with the Celtics his entire career, so he's going to get the same thing. You're looking at about like 70% of the payroll has to go to those two guys. You can pay luxury taxes, like the Warriors pay more in luxury tax than they do in payroll. It's confusing stuff, and I'm not going to bore people with it. But yes, I think if they keep those two, they can win every single year. Those two are, when you have a 1-2 combo. If
that's the case, then I think with time, if they do win 3 in a row,
right,
then this will be viewed differently.
Agreed.
At the moment, I think it's a blah. I actually, personally, now I could be proven wrong on this thing, I got a different feeling about what's going on in the Stanley Cup final. I don't see it the same way. As I kind of was like, yeah, this is probably inevitable. I'm watching the Cardinal game, and then I flip over to the Mavericks and Celtics, and when I saw they were up big, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of what I thought was going to happen.
Yep.
I don't think that about tonight's game in Florida.
What makes you feel the difference?
I get the sense that the Oilers, for whatever reason, actually really think that they can do it. Mm-hmm. And there was a game against the Stars that they probably should have lost that they won. And there was a game against the Panthers they probably should have won that they lost. It hasn't been like the NBA Finals where it didn't look like they belonged on the same, floor/ice. So I'm intrigued by what we see tonight, because if you got to get back on a plane and fly 7 hours across North America, or whatever the hell it is. We thought it was 7 hours. Maybe it's not that much.
It's probably at least 6.
It's, it's obviously it's a trip. It's not like, okay, we're going to shoot on up to, take your, like Nashville or something.
Even New York,
It's a different ball game. And what that building would be like in Game 6.
Oh, man.
To send it to a 7th game.
Yeah.
I just, give me the oil all day long in that situation. So I think in a way, there's pressure on the Panthers, who 48 hours ago were probably feeling like they were free rolling in Edmonton, like, oh, if we can get it tonight, we can get it. Oh, we didn't. We gave up 8 goals, whatever.
Yeah.
So I got a different feeling about the Stanley Cup final. And hey, if I'm wrong, I will stand here like a man and I will blame you for your opinion.
And I appreciate that.
Yep, that's leadership.
I talked about, maybe a few weeks ago, I watched that 4 Nights in October Red Sox documentary about when they made the 3-0 comeback against the Yankees.
When did that come out? Because I saw that popping up on my 30 for 30 list. I'm like, God, I'm sure I watched it. But
I feel like that was a part of like the first run.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, because Simmons was running it, obviously a big Boston guy, and that's a great story to do a documentary on, if nothing else. But I can't remember who exactly on the team was saying it, but in the pregame, he just kept saying, don't let us get this one. Don't let us get this one. Yeah. Because you come back, we can win that
Kevin
game.
Millar?
I think it was Kevin Millar. And he just said, don't let us win this one, because we go back home where we have Pedro tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's going to be a problem. And then we're going back to Boston. Don't let us get that. And then in Game 7, anything can happen. So I think if I'm the Oil, I'm having that same mindset. If you let us get one here on the road, then you got to come back up to the land of the North.
The land of the North, is that what they call it?
Be ready. Just be ready.
What do you think the odds are for the Oil to win the Chalice?
I'll say plus 750.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's Jackson Burkett. Plus 650, pretty good.
Okay.
plus 650. Panthers minus 1,100 for the record for tonight's game. Panthers are minus 140, excuse me, at Oilers plus 120. That is taking place I would say, Jackson, I don't know, 25-minute drive from where the Cardinals will be taking on 40. It depends on the traffic.
It's all traffic dependent.
From the Cardinals are taking on the Marlins. And if you think the atmosphere is going to be great in Sunrise for Game 5 at the Stanley Cup Final, just wait until you see the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Where the Marlins and Cardinals do battle tonight.
Yeah, the 3,500 Cardinal fans in attendance.
We'll talk Cardinals on the other side of the break. This is Balloon Party 101 ESPN. I'm heading to Munganess, St. Louis Acura today, matter of fact. And that's because I'm finally getting that hail damage on my vehicle tended to in the service department by the great Ryan Seiberg and the team at Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. They're online at stlouisacura.com and at altontoyota.com. It's Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, presenting sponsor Balloon Party, place where my family goes to get our vehicles, and we just think the world of Jamie Burkhardt and Peter Munganess. And in the service department, as I talked about earlier, going to see Ryan Seiberg today. It has been a really wonderful partnership, and our audience loves working with them as well. And if you haven't started working with them, give them a shot. And I think once you do, you'll go, man, I'm not going anywhere else. It's that simple. Here is your incentive. No money down, $589 a month, 48-month lease for a 2024 Acura MDX Premium. That's right. You can get that with the TMA loyal listener discount at Munganess, St. Louis Acura. We bring it to Balloon Party. Just go shopping at stlouisacura.com or altontoyota.com. Welcome back to Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you on the program. 101 ESPN YouTube channel, active as the day is long. And Friends of the Feather are talking it over. I never pictured Tim being bald hearing him on the radio. LOL. That's from Ryan Nunn. Yeah, Jackson, I started losing my hair. When was it? Would you say the mid-'90s?
That's what I remember it being.
And I remember taking a lass. I was early stages.
Yeah.
Probably just like the heavy petting stages.
Right.
To I guess it was a Walgreens. I don't know if CVS is a sponsor or not.
I don't think so.
Okay. What about, what's the place in New York you would know? They're on every corner.
Bodega? Walgreens?
I think it begins with a D. Dunn, something like that.
I don't know. They have a Wegmans grocery store. That's a fun one.
But either way, to Walgreens, as I got Rogaine, and I bet she was like, oh, my God, this is so hot. So that goes back to Columbia, Missouri. Then I got a prescription for Propecia.
Nice.
And then I stopped taking it after 8 years because I'm like, I'm not going to do TV anymore, and it costs like $95 a month. And I'm like, some people, that's a lot of money. And then I decided, I'll grow my hair back. And then at that moment, I realized, I need the Propecia, and it's gone.
Yeah, I'm a proud Propecia taker.
You
every
are.
day.
And look at you. Look at you. Look at you. If you're watching on YouTube, you won't believe what Jackson's dealing with here.
Right.
He's tall. He's lithe. He's got a full head of hair. Yeah. The ladies love his style. But sorry, this man's taken.
Bingo. Yeah. Propecia, it does work some charms. I was nervous about the side effects, but, I just kind of rolled the dice and all was good. And I would be taking it for the rest of my life, theoretically.
Yeah, once you're, you got to.
You're handcuffed to it.
If I would have kept on it,
right,
I'd be looking like, what do you say, like Billy D. Williams?
Billy D. Williams, but you do give off that kind of that quaff energy, that bouffant.
Quaff energy.
Well, like he said, I didn't imagine Tim being bald, and I think you give off such an aura about you that
I agree with that.
That you're like, oh, this guy must have.
He must be 6'4", with a thick head of hair, and yet he chose to take a terrible major at 18 to limit his career possibilities.
Right, could have taken so many different paths in life. Could have led you to
There's talk
glory.
of me being a senator. There's talk.
I don't see why not.
Thank you.
That seems like kind of a whole thing anyways. Let anyone in. All right, regardless. I don't know.
Why are you arguing with yourself? Everything's fine. You're a prince. Is that one of those things where you like all of a sudden lose where you are?
Yeah. Yep. I basically disassociated there for a second, and now I'm back and better than ever.
So you're ready with question 2, which really could be question 3 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Well, question 2 has 3 questions in it.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, how much more can you give us, Big Mac?
It actually might be like 6 questions all in one.
What are we doing here?
All have to do with the Cardinals.
Wow. It's key bump season on Philadelphia.
So the first question has to do with last night's game.
Okay.
Second question has to do with Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Third question has to do with the overarching feel of the 2024 Cardinals.
I need like a stenographer to handle this program.
Question 1A.
Okay. All right.
That was one hell of a Cardinal game last night. Seemed like it was more stressful than it needed to be.
I agree with that.
But I was fired up with some more emotions. I like that. Results oriented, but it was fun. How do you feel about Ollie pulling Sonny Gray when he was dealing through 84 pitches? And do you feel that Ollie's too quick with the hook, or is it a wise move to get that super solid bullpen whenever you see an opportunity?
I'm going to isolate this on Sonny Gray specifically. I get the sense that those two are on the absolute same page, open relationship with regard to, hey, I'm good, I can stay in. Hey, I'm starting to trend in the wrong direction. Get me out. I mean, we've seen both play out in back-to-back starts. One time when you thought that Marmol was about to pull him, and he left him in. I think that was in Anaheim. And then the next week, Gray said, hey, you got to get me out.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthy as all get out. I really do.
I do too.
So when I saw him pull him last night, I thought, hey, Sonny Gray must have told him something. That's where I'm coming from.
That's what I would have thought too. I was thinking going into that 8th inning, I thought they're going to get him one base runner. If he gets on, they're going to go to Judge or Romero. And honestly, in the moment, I didn't think it was a dumb move, so I can't come on the radio here now and say, nope, dumb, stupid, shouldn't have done it.
We don't do results oriented. We don't do cake shaming.
We
on
do
this
not.
show.
We do
don't.
not.
We're pro freedom. Sorry, that's where we are.
Judge,
if you don't like freedom, you're listening to the wrong show.
Bingo. I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, I think JoJo was theoretically going to get out of it quicker, and then he finally got up against a righty, De La Cruz, and he hammered it. That sometimes happens.
Here is what I worry about. You have, if you don't mind, I'll give a macro perspective. This is a macro show.
I'm welcome to it.
if you wanted to buy stock in the Cardinals, and they're plus 550 to win the National League Central, Brewers losing last night with the Cardinals win, 5.5 back. If you wanted to buy stock in the Cardinals, you could say, wow, Wilson Contreras could be back. I mean, sure, Pete Page has done some raking. Herrera, big hit last night as well. Problem is when he plays catcher, it's a little problematic as far as stolen bases for the opposition goes. But Contreras, Nootbaar, John Mozilla keeps talking about Tommy Edman. I don't know. I saw the interview with Katie Wu, and I'm like, okay, I guess that's got to be something, because I don't know why you keep bringing it up.
Right.
If it were not going to happen, not to say that that's going to save everything, but I mean that's an improvement versus what you see out there. So with regard to that, you got those pieces coming back, and then there's a bunch of the guys in the bullpen that are at least getting work in. And Steven Matz, I don't know what direction they would go with him. Again, I'm not portraying him. I recognize what that is. Point being, there is a large contingent that could be back on this Major League roster soon. But why are the Cardinals, I don't want to call this a successful season, but why are the Cardinals 36-35 after starting off as poorly? And you can give a number of reasons. But I would say the biggest reason is the bullpen. That's do you agree with that, or do you see it otherwise? I
would say pitching in general over this last month and change stretch, because the starting pitching has improved exponentially, certainly from the 1-2-3 spot with Michaelis and Gibson. Gray's obviously who he is. So I think pitching altogether, but yeah, bullpen's a big part of that. Yeah,
and interestingly enough, I would say Gray's probably trended down over the month with some starts that have been spotty. But either way, the bullpen, what concerns me for the long run is the use. Like last night was Romero's 33rd appearance. The team's played 71 games. I just don't know how reliable this Helsley shows. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is dominance, but there's some shakiness there as well. And so I just wonder/worry if, while you're going to have an influx of players getting healthy, that, not to say that the bullpen guys get hurt so much as they aren't as reliable as they have been in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings, which has allowed the pitching staff to stabilize. So it just depends on which one you value more. Do you value more of the influx of injured players getting healthy and back into the lineup, or do you short the stock because you're like, the best thing the team has going is the bullpen, and inevitably the overuse is going to catch up with them?
Yeah, I kid around about my infatuation with John King.
You really like John. You really do like John.
I do think he's a really good pitcher. But in general, there's going to be times where if you want a sustainable bullpen, because there's been no doubts the bullpen has been rock solid this year. But if you're going to sustain that over such a long season, there has to be opportunities where you have a lead, even a small lead, a high leverage situation, where you use someone other than Kittredge, Romero, and Helsley. And the only way you're going to be able to trust people down the road if the guys get injured is if you do it right now. And so situations like last night or coming up this week, there are going to be situations where they're going to have a 1-2 run lead. And I don't know if you necessarily want to go to Helsley. Maybe not Helsley, but Kittredge and Romero when you're going to pitch them 33 games out of this year. I mean, that's a lot of games for a left-handed reliever. You got to use some other guys. Refresh the pen. They do it all the time. Throw guys in. Fernandez was great last night in the high leverage situation.
Then the question becomes the drop off on the quality.
Sure.
And I realize you got to find out, but that's the reason why I would go. This just isn't going to. Right. This isn't going to continue. And then the thing that is a variable that has nothing to do with health or regression would be the two guys in the middle of the order who, Arenado's 0 for 6 last night. Yep. Goldschmidt with a nice scoop and save for the final out. That you go, I mean, if you're operating on the premise that they can go back to what they have been relatively recently, then you go, well, crap, I got to take the former. I'll buy stock.
Absolutely.
But if you're like, this is who they are, then you got two guys in the middle of your order who are more liability than they are blue chip. And so that is why that's another question that as a fan, if you're trying to assess what this team is, those are the areas, no matter what, the guy who had the game-winning hit last night, that is incredibly exciting. If you were concerned based on the month and change that he was at the major league level last year, I'd like to think those are put to rest with regard to Mason Wynn. Unfortunately, there are some younger players who you would have thought would experience maturation and probably be ahead of Mason Wynn, who are not at this moment. One of them's at Memphis. One of them, man, I mean, is like he peaks and valleys constantly in Nolan Gorman. Mm-hmm. But specific to Mason Wynn, that could wind up being the face of the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it would be Walker, and it could wind up being Mason Wynn with what he is doing both offensively over the last month, but also the way that he plays defense. So that's super encouraging. Just another reason why you might see him in the All-Star game was last night with what wound up being the game-winning home run for the Cardinals in the 12th. All right, we will take a commercial break, come back with the second half of Balloon Party. It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
That's right.
That is what we have for you here today. This is 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson, the SportsCenter update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Cardinals win last night in extra innings. They will take on the Miami Marlins tonight again. 5:10 local time is your first pitch for the Cardinals at the Miami Marlins. Last night, Jayson Tatum and the Boston Celtics win their 18th league record, 18th NBA championship, defeating the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games. Jaylen Brown named the Bill Russell Finals MVP. And tonight on 101 ESPN, Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final, Panthers taking on the Oilers. You can catch that game right here on 101 ESPN. Pre-game starts at 6:30, puck drop at 7:30. That was another SportsCenter update. It's brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back. It's Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. My name is Tim McKernan. That's Jackson Burkett. 314-399-9646 is how you can interact with us. And the YouTube chat, where DJ Pattycakes and Bishing About Sports is in there with A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown was asked how's training camp going, and he says he's going to hold out. He needs more bread. So
fair enough.
There's an update for Eagles fans in the YouTube chat. A lot of wide receivers hang out in our YouTube chat.
Yeah, I believe... Chris Givens, you remember Chris Givens with the Rams?
Absolutely.
Boy, he could run
Brian Quick.
Yeah, they'd run the fly route, man. Sam Bradford. He was accurate downfield.
Yeah, what an offense.
I stand by it. Is that a bad OC? They had a bad OC. Right. Bradford was accurate downfield. He was born too late. Regardless, that's not what we're talking about.
No, not on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is today's series of questions on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. The YouTube channel studio cameras brought to you by the Air Alliance team. What does Jackson have up his sleeve next? Because he's already asked like 5 questions, but we're only through 2 questions. You see what I'm saying? There's like a series here.
Yep. I got one real quick hitter for you, and then you don't
have to apologize. We could wind up spending the next 6 hours on this question.
No, we won't, because I have a big, broad question I do want to get to.
Oh, wow.
But I don't want to forget about this question.
Okay.
I want it in there. Do you think the Ghost Runner on second Major League Extras is super goofy, or do you agree with it to get the games going quicker? What about starting that in the 12th as opposed to the 10th?
I don't mind that idea, the latter.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Just
have you seen that proposed?
I've seen other people talk about something like that. I think SVP might have talked about that.
Right? Okay.
Maybe. I could be wrong on that. It just makes more sense to me because, like you saw last night, it's just, all right, first batter up, bunts the guy over, and then try to get a fly ball to the outfield. And I think that's such against the nature of the game almost. Like, yeah, it's going to go a little longer. It's extra baseball. If you want to do that, start in the 12th. I don't know.
I kind of like that idea.
The Ghost Runner. I mean, I talked about the other day. You could throw a perfect game and lose because of the Ghost Runner. You know, you could have an unearned run out there. All right, that's just kind of where I was at. All right, here's my big question.
All right.
Have we reached the competitive threshold when it comes to American sports? Mainly,
what do we got going here? Jackson Burkett.
Yeah, here we go. Mainly with baseball and basketball.
What do you mean the competitive threshold?
I had a word in there that I think would have guided it wrong, but the word I was going to use is the competitive capitalism threshold.
Okay, I'm going to hear you out here.
Mainly with baseball and basketball, but other American sports fall into this as well. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver a few nights ago said there's nothing we can do to incentivize players to make the All-Star game competitive, and people can take that however they want. Baseball has a model in which only about half the teams want to win, and then way too many teams get in. Same with the NHL and NBA, too many teams getting in. You can't reduce the amount of games because of money. You can't make relegation a thing because of money. Have we reached a point where the interest in dollars has far surpassed the hunger for a true competition? Do you think the long-term entertainment value of said sports are in danger if we travel further past the Rubicon?
Wow. Is there a Producer of the Year award out there? If not, there should be, and it will be called the Jackson Burkett Award.
Feeling good. Thumbs up.
I mean, this is existential AF. I mean, how can things get more competitive? I agree with your premise. I wasn't prepared for this. I thought we were going to, break down Jazz Chisholm or something.
No, I have no interest in that, even though he wears his pants the right way. What I'd say on can we get more competitive is no, because I think.
Are you thinking across the board? Are you thinking specific sports?
Football, it's tough because
I was about to say, because I feel like football, and maybe that's the reason why it's as popular as it is.
Football not included. Football not included because they only play 17 games in the NFL season. Each game is so damn important.
But the one that's if we are to call And maybe some people disagree or feelings will be hurt. But if we were to call the 4 major North American professional sports leagues, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL, and then college football and college basketball, the one that is at the top, and I think everybody would agree with, even though it may not be popular to say here in St. Louis, is the NFL. And I don't know what you would say is the ones that I would say are dropping are with younger people, baseball and college basketball. I'm not trying to stir your pot, but that's my assessment. I could be wrong on that, by the way. And then the one that is like this as far as a stock, I know not most people are not watching this, but like on a real positive trend is college football. Mm-hmm. Do you agree with all of these assessments? Am I leaving anything out as far as like handicapping the stocks of the 6?
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you. Maybe baseball dropping a little bit with the younger crowd in terms of interest and engagement.
That's what I said. I said baseball and college basketball.
Ah, okay. Well, that's me not paying attention.
So with that said, then you go, okay, well then why is that the case with football going that direction? Why is baseball and college basketball? And I think that if they are indeed dropping, I think it'd be for separate reasons. But with that said, for me, Gabe DeArmond wrote on Power Mizzou yesterday that we're, I guess, about 30 days away from SEC Media Days. I mean, that's how close college football is. And he said it is pretty much accepted that by college football fans and writers that we are on the threshold, speaking of thresholds, of the most exciting college football season in the history of the sport. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, something that I noticed from a local perspective, and this is coming from a Missouri fan, is something that I hesitated to, I mean, we've only been doing this show for 2.5 years, that whereas like when James Carlton, wonderful sponsor of this program and TMA and my podcast, he had the Mizzou segments, and I'd be just like, hey, man, when we talk Mizzou, and this was in 2023 even, or 2022, I'm sorry, I'd be like, and then, I told him this, and you would see it too, but like, nobody cares. Nobody's upset. Nobody cares. And then last year, and now with the carryover into this year, and then the expanded playoff, I'm in awe of how many people who also didn't go to Missouri are now engaged in this upcoming football season. Yep. It's a hell of an opportunity as a Missouri fan, and also somebody, I think, looking at it through the lens of, I don't know what the right word would be, but I feel like the expectations may be damaging in a sense, even though I'm thrilled to finally see expectations that aren't now. They just go to a bowl. It's just going to be, I think it's going to be tougher than perhaps it's expected to be, I guess. I think there's some, I don't know, I think there's a potential for regression that I hope doesn't ruin the momentum of the program as a whole, sure. I suppose. And the regression, I'm not talking about like a 6-6 season. I'm just talking about maybe not living up to the expectations. With that all said, why are we seeing football moving in this direction and the others perhaps, as you speak to? Yeah, I mean, I don't think it gets enough attention on how there's a huge number of baseball teams that are just kind of like going through the motions. And I think at the core, what time is it? Is it like 11:40?
We got
10:49. All right.
That's on the segment. Because
I was asked this question on my podcast. I don't know if that played a role in this.
It certainly sparked the fire.
Similar. Yeah, it was a great question. And I can't recall, like the motive for winning of ownership. Mm-hmm. Back in, not even like that far back, you had families that weren't necessarily ridiculously wealthy owning teams. And it wasn't limited to baseball. This is across the board. That's what it was. And in the 1970s, owning an NBA team or ABA team was not necessarily a great value. Mm-mm. And then you think about who can acquire and afford teams now. They're not like families. No. They're billionaires or they're corporations. And therefore, what I'm saying is, I would imagine for many of you, you're going, well, it's quite obvious what they're thinking, but just in case you're not thinking this, and I'm sure some of you are not, well, they're not going to run businesses for profit that increase in such valuation that they either have these huge exits in which they make God only knows how much money, or has so much value that they become billionaires. and then go, well, I'm going to run the sports team in a different way. Point being, they're going to run the sports team the same way they ran their businesses to get to the point of having that wealth.
Right.
You don't have a whole lot of families that are not ridiculously wealthy owning teams anymore.
Right.
You know, I think Spanos might be like an example, not to say that they're, you know, middle class or something, but relative to professional sports, I think he's more, our wealth is the paper of the Los Angeles Chargers, not necessarily our liquidity so much. So therefore, the motive of the owner, I think, becomes, I want to make money.
Yeah.
And if we get a championship, great. Some will pop up that only want to win a championship for their legacy, as legacies become more important than dollars. But in the moment, I think that's why you see what you called what? The
competitive capitalistic threshold.
Competitive capitalistic threshold, yes. I can't imagine. I truly can't. Because I also feel it'd be a breach of trust with my customers to not, at the very least, be transparent and say, we're not in a position to do this and this year, and here is the reason, or here is why we're going to do this. Because that's different than going, every year I go balls to the wall. That's not realistic.
Right.
But it's almost like holding office. You have a responsibility to your constituents. And so that's why I've liked what the Blues have done, even though this hasn't been a successful couple of years. I feel like there has been some real transparency. The Berube thing still throws me off. I don't get that. I'm not like angry about it so much as I just don't understand what happened there. But again, I'm not in the room. I don't know. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, I feel like it's not transparent. And I think that's why they've alienated people, even though both teams last time when they had an opportunity in the postseason was the same year, 2022. And so from that standpoint, I think you're seeing way more of the Cardinal style than you are of the Blues style. Mm-hmm. But the public would be more trusting of the Blues style than they are of the Cardinal style. The problem is for every one Cardinal, or for every one Blues organization, I think there are probably 10 Cardinal organizations in the realm of American sports. So your thought, and including the Canadian franchises, your thoughts are welcome. It's probably 11 o'clock and I got to go. But anyway, great question.
Thank you.
Tip of the cap.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break, come back with more. This is Blue Party. Welcome back. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Jackson coming off of a moment. Jackson Burkett has had his moment. And it came in the form of his competitive capitalistic threshold question.
That's right.
It was a great question. Somebody wrote, that's a hell of a question, Piddles. How about that?
It's nice. I'm just going to ride that energy for the rest of the day.
As you should.
I'm going to ride that
question,
energy.
Piddles. With baseball and hockey, most of the time the casual fan has never even heard of the players taken in the first round. With football, your favorite team will be selecting players that you have heard of and probably watched play in. It's a good assessment right there.
Agree.
That was from the 314. Also from the 314, I'm a Cardinal fan living in Denver. Coors is typically top 10 in attendance. No wonder ownership there doesn't invest more in the Rockies. They're making a killer profit. That's from the 314.
Yeah, I think all of that has to do with it. I mean, all of this is solved with relegation, but that's just something that's never going to happen.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
You bought a Major League Baseball team. You didn't buy a team that could be playing in AAA.
That's a historical thing. Like, when we look at soccer in Europe, they started with relegation before sports became a massive business. Now that sports are a massive business, you're not going to have people be like, hey, you want to operate at a negative $500 million loss next year? Go play in AAA. Like,
yeah, that wouldn't fly.
No, it just wouldn't work.
There's no marketable stars in either of those sports. That is from the 314.
But that doesn't change the competition element of it. Like, you can have non-marketable stars, but the NBA has the most marketable stars, and there's a competition problem in the NBA.
Yeah. QFTA today, fellas. We need it. That's from the 636. I got a sound story coming up at 11:30. So I will not be able to QFTA. Maybe tomorrow.
I'm good whenever.
Maybe this afternoon, I don't know. But you can send emails in. They can be sports related, but they can be anything related. Hate mail is welcome too. I offer $200 for it. You got to be able to piss me off though, and I'm starting to think I'm a sociopath. T. McKernan at InsideSTL.com, TMCKERNAN at InsideSTL.com. BK and Ferrario are coming up next for Jackson Bennett Burkett. I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, and Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Well, James Carlton of the Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency is my insurance agent, and now he's up to 374 five-star reviews. This one speaks volumes right here. I made the switch to James Carlton State Farm a few years ago after hearing how much people loved working with James and his team. I recently had a very complicated situation I was dealing with on my auto policy, and James and his team were so supportive during the entire process. Anytime I had a question or concern, they made sure I had all the answers I needed. James was even kind enough to personally respond to a concern I had while he was on vacation. It's that kind of dedication and professionalism that makes me hungry, or makes me happy that I made the switch to his agency. A special thanks to Stephanie on his team for all of her support as well. I would highly recommend his agency to anyone looking for insurance coverage. That's James Carlton, Carlton State Farm Insurance Agency, 314-961-4800, or you can go online at carltoninsurance.net. If your insurance costs a leg and an arm, call James Carlton, State Farm.